Welcome to this episode of the Coach's Corner. Today we are focusing on Central Oregon Community College, which is located in Bend, Oregon. Central Oregon Community College, which is referred to as COCC, offers a range of associate degrees and certificate programs in areas like aviation, nursing, criminal justice, outdoor leadership, culinary arts, and more, as well as opportunities to transfer to four-year universities and some programs that let you do 2 years in one and then transfer straight into the other. The coach of their rugby team, their men's rugby team, is with us today. They compete at the NCR Division III level, and I'd like to welcome Coach Max Bennett. Welcome, Coach Bennett.
Thanks, Melanie.
So today I have a lot of questions for you, Coach Bennett, and I'd like to dive in and talk a little bit about you. Can you tell us a little bit about your background, how you found rugby, and how you found yourself coaching rugby at COCC?
Yeah, totally. So I grew up in Bend, and went to high school here and had a fantastic childhood here in Bend. When I went to college to a small school down in California called Pepperdine, and I played college rugby down there. I got into rugby through my uncle, who I'll probably talk about multiple times today. But he encouraged me to get into it. My dad played a little bit in college as well, so I kind of knew about it, and some of my buddies invited me out. And I played rugby at Pepperdine, which was awesome and very much a big reason why I do what I do now as a coach, trying to enable and promote the kind of experience I had in college rugby for young men here at COCC. After college, I pursued my career. I work in digital marketing. I moved around to various places. I moved back to Bend in 2012, and I was still pursuing some additional education and actually taking courses at COCC. And then coincidentally, my uncle was starting the program at COCC, the rugby program. So in 2012, my uncle Woody started as the head coach and started the program, the COCC men's rugby program. And I played for him, which was a bit of a dream come true for me. So I played for him in that inaugural season. I was his first team captain and very much involved in essentially getting the program started. I just played that 1 year and then carried on with my career and my life. And I recently moved back to Bend after getting married. My wife and I moved back here, and we've started a family. We have two little kids, and wanted to get back into rugby. The head coach role was open as of last year, so last August. The I was a volunteer coach at COCC before that, and then the head coach role opened up, and I was offered the opportunity to take over, which I'm thrilled about. So this is my second full year as head coach of the COCC men's rugby team. I'm just happy to carry on my uncle's legacy. I'm very, very proud of what we've got going here at COCC. Really proud of where the program's at. So that's kind of how I got here.
Great. So before we talk rugby, I'd like to talk a little bit about community colleges because I think that there is a bit of a misunderstanding about community colleges that it's a place where you go take a class and carry on with your life the rest of the time. And there's a lot more to it. Could you explain what community colleges, what benefits they have, and some of the benefits or the uniqueness of COCC in particular?
Yeah, for sure. I think historically, the concept of junior college, which for most intents and purposes is, I think, essentially the same thing as a community college. I think junior college is a more dated concept, as far as I understand, where it is essentially kind of what you described. It's kind of where you go and maybe just for the first 2 years, and then the primary goal is essentially strictly to just then carry on to a 4 year. Community college, I think, is more evolved, is more modern. I would say, where it's not just strictly for students who are unsure and just kind of doing something for the first 2 years, and then the only goal is to carry on to a 4 year. Community colleges are very connected with their community. So for us, that's Central Oregon. And the college benefits the local economy. There's great partnerships with local businesses, local people in the community, and there's a great collaboration of, well, what is needed and what is offered. And so a lot of the programs and departments at COCC are in collaboration with what the community needs. And so, yeah, a lot of the students are already here in the community. There are many pathways. Certainly, you can pursue an associate's degree and then, transfer to a four-year university and continue that way. But then there's also all kinds of accreditations, certificates that essentially just carry you on into whatever career you're pursuing. And so I like to think of community college as essentially like a launch pad, where it is, in my opinion, probably your best option, particularly if you're unsure of what you want to do out of high school, or however you're arriving at wanting to go into school and pursue a higher education. I think community colleges are a great fit as a launch pad to enable you to figure out what you want to do at a very affordable price. And it opens up almost all pathways from my perspective. So.
Great. And the nice thing is that it has some of the niceties that you relate to a four-year school, like a rugby program. Where do your students eat and sleep?
Yeah, great question. So that is one of the unique things about COCC. We do have dormitories on campus. If you ever get the opportunity to visit COCC, it's a remarkable campus in one of the most desirable places in Bend, up high on a butte. There are beautiful mountain views of the Cascade Mountains from campus, even from our pitch. And it's a really impressive campus, and then it's also really unique and special that for a community college we have dorms. The dorms are very kind of new. I can't remember exactly when they were constructed, but I think it was sometime in the last 10 or 15 years. So they feel really new. A lot of times you visit some state schools around the country and you're like, whoa, when was this built? That's not the case at COCC. They're very modern, really nice dormitories right on campus. I like to tell my guys, and they know it, that we're 50 yards from the pitch. So that's kind of a nice special win. And
No
then
excuse for being late to training.
yeah, that's also true. Yeah, for the guys who live in the dorms, if they're late, there's no excuse. And then as you asked about eating, there's a dining hall on campus, and that's an easy walk from the dorms, but it's also right placed centrally on campus, at the campus center. And so, very similar to really any other college or I guess university experiences. There's a cafeteria, there's coffee shop, there's a food market on campus. So there's lots of options. And then ultimately, Bend is a foodie town, so lots of food very nearby to campus, food trucks and things like that. So.
Great. I was mentioned earlier that my cousin went on his honeymoon to Bend and never came back. And every time I've ever heard anything about Bend, Oregon, it's been with all kinds of accolades and niceties thrown around it. A
Yeah,
lovely place to be.
it's a very special place. I'm from here, but I've also lived in a lot of places around the United States and also internationally in South America and Europe. And so I've been around, and I absolutely am here not just strictly because it's my hometown, but because I think it's one of the most remarkable places in the world. It's probably one of the fastest growing places on the West Coast. It's a very thriving place, and there's a good reason why so many people are moving here. So,
So let's talk rugby. You mentioned that the program was started back in 2012, but can you tell us more about it? What division you play in, when you play 15s, when you play sevens, how that all works?
for sure. So yeah, the program started in 2012. We play in the NCR, so the National Collegiate Rugby Governing Union. We play at the Division 3 level. That's based on enrollment. So we're among the smaller schools competing at the D3 level. Currently, and for the last few years, the NCR plays 15s in the fall and sevens in the winter and spring terms. So that's what we do because that's what our governing union does. So we have a very competitive 15s season in the fall where you can vie for your opportunity to be the representative for our league, which for us, our conference is the Northwest Collegiate Rugby Conference. We have 8 teams, I believe, maybe 9 teams in our league at the D3 level, and that includes well-recognized schools like University of Idaho, University of Montana, Gonzaga, Western Oregon, all really well-respected rugby programs. So we get some really solid competition. And yeah, ultimately at 15s, the goal is to be your representative, to win the league, to go to regionals, and then obviously vie for your opportunity to compete for a national championship. And then in the spring, yeah, typically it's kind of this misnomer. It's kind of referred to as spring sevens, but it's the winter term as well. We've been practicing since January 6th. So the term started on January 5th. So we jump straight into it. We hit the ground running, and we get after it. And this year we have a promising sevens side. So we are strictly focusing on sevens. Last year it was a little bit different. The club wanted to continue to play some 15s. So in the wintertime in January and February, before the seven season officially started, we played some friendly 15s matches against the local nearby Division One schools. So it kind of depends, but at the end of the day, from the sanctioned in conference in league qualifying matches, we play sevens in the winter and spring.
Okay. So as far as recruiting goes, I would imagine in a 2-year program, you are always recruiting because you've got turnover because those boys are going to be gone again in 2 years. So tell me when you are recruiting, what you look for in a recruit, what is appealing to you, and also what gives you a little bit of concern.
Yeah, no, great question. For me, I would say it's kind of three main things that I look for. Toughness. These are yeah, so I'll just say them. So toughness, hard work, and a desire for physicality. These are three things that I think are really hard to teach. Some kids are raised to understand hard work and are challenged and pushed. And so, in my opinion, hard work is a skill. And you have to practice it. And if you haven't practiced it, there's a steep learning curve to understanding and to learning hard work. So work ethic, ultimately kind of tightly related to toughness, like your grit, right? Your resilience. That's what I look for. And then ultimately physicality, you have to have a desire to be physical. I've played with guys and I've coached guys who are the biggest guys on the pitch, but they're scared and they have no interest in being physical. And then on the flip side, currently our fly half, our scrum half, probably the smallest guy in the field is our best tackler and has absolutely no fear and has a pure desire for physicality. It's really hard to teach a guy to want to be physical. And so then on the flip side of things like skills, of course, it's nice if they also come as a full package where they have passing and kicking and scanning and just, high rugby IQ. All of those things are wonderful, but you can teach that. So anyway, that's kind of what I look for. And then red flags, we talk a lot about ego. I'm all for team ego. I want our guys, and our guys are very proud to wear the crest on their chest, and compete for our program and for their brothers next to them. But we don't have any room for individual ego. I just you can typically kind of sniff it out. If you're here for you and you only care about your own path and you're not a good teammate, I'm not interested. I don't care how good you are. So.
And you have quite a few crossover athletes who their experiences is in other sports and they're picking up rugby late in the day, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say it's honestly kind of a passion of mine. One of my assistant coaches was a Division III football player. He played linebacker at Linfield here in Oregon. Really solid American football player in high school. Through an injury and through the experience that he had, he ended up not going to that school anymore and actually decided to go to University of Idaho and play rugby. He picked up rugby and he's played at extremely high levels now throughout his career. So he's like your perfect example of a crossover athlete at least in the United States, right? Where it's common. He played football all through high school. He loved football. It was his first passion. He didn't really know much about rugby, but now when you talk to him, he wishes he would have found rugby sooner, because it's just been this perfect crossover for him. So we intentionally look for great athletes and we're very confident in our ability as a coaching staff to train these athletes to understand the game, to skill them up quickly and be great rugby players.
So let's talk about your coaching staff because I think that you have really deep coaching staff, surprisingly so. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of like kind of how I approach coaching. I like to kind of view myself as a bit of a Ted Lasso, if you know that reference. I've even got the mustache for it. But I'm very confident as being the culture leader of the program. That is where I am particularly adept, and sort of my forte is leadership and culture. And I'm very proud of our culture as a program. Um, and then I've always approached, whether it's in work or in this case in rugby, surrounding myself with people who are smarter than myself. So I have five assistant coaches. All of them played at very high levels, and most of them continue to play at the adult club level. And so yeah, I have five. We're a coaching staff of six coaches. Very intentional about selecting who coaches with me. They have to be a culture fit. But we're also really lucky in that and well, it's very intentional that they all come from different positions, different and are have the ability to coach different skills. So we have a forwards coach who is particularly adept at scrum, and he focuses on scrum. We have a scrum half coach who that's his background, and just a really well-rounded coaching staff. Most of them played Division I college rugby in the United States. My other assistant is Fijian and has quite a bit of international and even professional experience. So I'm really proud of our coaching staff. Really confident in our ability to upskill players, particularly young ones, who are either new to the game or they're freshmen or sophomores in college, still developing physically and still developing in their rugby skills. I think, have a very unique setup where we're a fairly small program with around 35 players, but a coaching staff of six coaches who are focused on upskilling all of our players and developing them. And again, going back to that launchpad metaphor, community college is a launchpad for your career in life. I believe COCC rugby is a launchpad for your rugby career as well. So I think it's a great opportunity for kids who are still developing, still looking to gain experience and grow physically and in their rugby skills. And you'll get a lot more attention and coaching directly from incredible coaches at our program.
So as far as training goes, when does your team train? When you play, where do you play? What does travel look like? Are there dues for participating in the team? Could you talk a little bit about what it looks like on a weekly basis?
Yeah, for sure. We follow kind of a typical classic structure, at least in the United States, where we practice on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 4 to 6, sometimes 6:30 in the evening. We have a captain's run on Fridays that's player led. And so that's kind of strictly from a training standpoint. We essentially practice 3 days a week. A lot of our guys are working part-time or even full-time. We absolutely support all of our student athletes to be students first and pursue their education, their accreditations. So we try not to push it too hard. We don't do anything crazy early morning. We don't do anything crazy late night. We encourage player-led workout sessions, which absolutely happen. We have a really nice gym and weight room. Again, for a community college, it's really impressive what we have, and all students, all players have access to that. And so a lot of the guys work out together in small groups on their own. And then, yeah, obviously we have matches on Saturdays when we're in season. Let's see,
Do
what
you
else did you
travel far
ask?
for those matches?
Yeah, so in some cases we aren't as fortunate as some areas of the United States, like in the Northeast, where they've got a whole bunch of density of programs right next to each other. Um, Typical travel is between 2 to 4 hours. We drive in vans. We have, nice vans provided by the college. We're very well supported by the institution, which is also very unique, particularly at the Division III level. But honestly, at all levels, we are very supported by the university. We are well funded. Dues are very subsidized. In a lot of cases, there are none. So we work with students, and yeah, we're very fortunate to be so supported by our institution. They see the value in our program. And yeah, they provide transportation, so we drive vans to and from our matches. And yeah, typical travel is 2 to 4, but sometimes upwards of 6 hours. We travel to Gonzaga, University of Idaho. Those are about 6 hours away. But typically we do kind of a home and away. So we went to Gonzaga in the fall this year. They'll come to us next year. We won't have to do that long travel. So
So how
um,
many games do you typically play in the fall season?
typically 6 or 7. Sometimes we'll have an eighth, depending if we're picking up a friendly at the very beginning of the season. But that's about what our typical fall season looks like.
And then how many sevens tournaments do you typically do?
So there's 6 on the schedule this year, or so far. I believe there's a good chance there'll be a seventh. So it's again, uh, not to make the youth watching this giggle, but 6 or 7 tournaments in the winter and spring. So yeah, it's a solid schedule. We're very discerning in which tournaments we travel to. We try to pursue the best competition. Our first tournament is on February 14th, so in 2 weeks. And there's 10 teams attending that tournament. We're really excited, and there will be 3 Division I teams participating in that tournament. So again, playing at a high level, we seek competition that's in a lot of ways sometimes better than us, just to improve our abilities and get our guys, as much high quality rugby as possible.
Right. I mean, one of the things that is a real selling point for Central Oregon is the cost of attendance. If you're in state, it's super economical. And you were explaining to me earlier that there are different break points if you are in state or a neighboring state, if you're in Central Oregon in the district, and then there's a cost if you are out of state, properly out of state. And they're all really kind of reduced rates compared to a lot of college expenses. Um, I think that that's a real benefit when it comes to the community college setup. And if your end goal is to go to XYZ University, but it's $60,000 a year and you're spending 20 at the local community
6.
college, that
Yeah.
can really,
Yeah.
really help.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with that in mind, is there any other financial aid or scholarships or anything else that people should be aware of?
Yeah, so as a community college, most funding is financial aid, grants. There are institutional foundation scholarships at COCC. Again, I kind of mentioned that uh, COCC is remarkably well supported by the community in Central Oregon. COCC is the oldest community college in the state of Oregon. They just last year, I think we celebrated our 75th anniversary. Have always been very, very well supported. So there's this wonderful COCC foundation that does offer scholarships. There are not athletic scholarships. We don't have any rugby specific scholarships. Um, but at the end of the day, as a community college, as you've already said, if you look at what you should look at, which is total cost, before or after, or I guess net after scholarships, at the end of the day, you're going to spend anywhere between a tenth to borderline a 20th of the overall cost to, again, kind of pursue whatever you're interested in, and also to kind of figure out what you're interested in, which is a lot of cases for young men out of high school or pursuing initially higher education. A lot of times we lack clarity on exactly what we want to do. So I highly recommend students at least consider pursuing entry level general requirements for those transfer pathways at a community college. COCC has an extremely reasonable rates, like you just said. Go online and check it out, but I believe it's $125 per credit for in district, which is for locals. If you're in Central Oregon, the in-state rate I believe is somewhere around 170 per credit. And the cool thing is neighboring states get in-state tuition. So for us, Washington, California, Idaho, Nevada, they all get in-state rates. And then even if you look at the out-of-state rate, still extremely reasonable. So yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons, particularly from a financial standpoint, to strongly consider community college options, and obviously look at COCC.
Sure. Super. Well, I think that you have wrapped that up really nicely. Thank you so much for spending time with us today, and good luck with the upcoming seven season.
Thanks a lot, Melanie.
You bet.